World's only cerebral sanitation engineer, and welcome to Smart Goals Are a Broken Promise. And goals are a funny thing. Goals aren't a funny thing, but most people have an awkward relationship to goals, awkward at best, or a downright adversarial relationship with goals. And they end up either knowing they're supposed to be setting goals and they don't, or they set goals and they end up just feeling bad about themselves and disinspired. And more people than not, the whole goal thing doesn't really work for them. But of course, in the background, they know they're supposed to set goals. And so it just becomes a very awkward, painful, frustrating sort of thing. And it also becomes very ineffective because then people don't achieve their goals and it just becomes a mess. And so this is what we're about to do here tonight, is shed some light on this subject and hopefully give you a different way to interact with your goals. And first of all, the background for this whole conversation we're about to have is my favorite quote from Louise Hay, which is, when we learn to love, accept, and approve of ourselves exactly as we are, then life just works. Love, accept, and approve of ourselves exactly as we are, then life just works. Now, most of the time, the way goal setting and goal achieving is taught already goes contradictory to that statement I just said. Because what happens is people in their minds say that where I want to get to is far more important than where I am now. And as soon as you leave the present, as soon as now is not all right, not okay, and therefore because I'm here in the now, then I'm not all right, then I'm not okay, you have a problem. You have a big problem because you're not loving, accepting, and approving of yourself, which puts you into a negative field of attraction, making it so much harder to get what you want, right? And this is one of the best traps that people fall into, is it will be better when this is different. I'll be happy when fill in the blank. I'll be happy when I have more money in the bank. I'll be happier when I'm in better shape. I'll be happier when I'm in a relationship. I'll be happier when I've achieved that next level in my business, on and on and on. And it sounds good. It sounds logical. It sounds believable. But you know what? It's not true. It's a lie. When we achieve those things, we're not happier. Because if I double my income, but I'm still me, the person who's practiced being dissatisfied and disappointed and thinking he's not doing well enough and having a story that there's not quite enough money, you know what? I'll have doubled my income and I'll still have those same stories. So then I'll just change the target. Oh, well, when I double my income again, then I'll be okay. Right? And kind of the stereotypical example of this is midlife crisis, right? Where the person has the nice house, they've got the vacation house, they've got the boat, they've got the sports car, and they go, what? I'm not happy. What's going on here? Right? So it's not about the stuff. And it's so easy to fall into that I'll be happy when trap. And it's a deadly trap to fall into. And most people's goals from the get-go fall into that trap, right? They're saying where I am right now is bad and wrong. And so now I got to get out of bad and wrong and try to get to good. But the problem is, as soon as we label where we are bad and wrong, a cascade of lousy things happens. So if I'm bad and wrong, my energy goes down, my inspiration goes down, my desire to be in action goes down, right? And the journey from escaping bad to good is very different from the journey from good to great. And our lives are already good. Your current set of results are already good. And oh my gosh, people confuse the heck out of this in the goal setting process and make where they are bad and wrong. And it's flat out an inaccurate description, because you can't have less than zero success. You can't have less than zero clients. You can't have less than zero follow-up. You can't have less than zero anything of the stuff you'd want to set goals on. It's impossible to have less than zero. And if you had less than 0, then that would be bad, and you'd need to escape bad and get to good. But since there isn't less than 0, it's already good, right? So yes, maybe financially I'm not a large way above 0, but I'm still above 0. I've still made money. That's a win. That's a success. I can build on that. Maybe I'm looking to build my confidence. It's not less than 0. I've already had some success. I've already had a few instances in my life where I've shown some confidence. Those are wins. Now I can build on them, right? So a win above 0 is already good. So when we label ourselves bad and wrong, it's just not even an accurate label. And boy, does it just create so much mischief in our head and puts us into resistance and low energy. And resistance and low energy is a pretty good formula, a pretty good strategy for not achieving your goals. So when where you want to get becomes more important than when you are now, when you're bad and wrong for where you are now, chances of you achieving your goals are slim to slimmer to it's not going to happen, because what you resist persists. Now, the title of this is Smart Goals Are a Broken Promise, and this ties right into what we've just been talking about, right? So we've been taught to set SMART goals: specific, measurable, achievable, realistic, and in a specific time frame. Now, the problem is that we're taught that SMART goals will make us happier, that SMART goals will bring a sense of fulfillment, a sense of meaning, a sense of purpose to us, some sense of who you are, and that's just not the case. It's just not the case. SMART goals don't make your life better, right? We think they will. You know, I have a bunch of clients in the last year who achieved new levels in their business. And then talking with them afterwards, they're like, whoa, I'm still me. You know what? My stories are still here. Nothing's really changed. I'm not happier. I'm not more fulfilled, even though I've got this new title, even though I've got this new promotion. SMART goals don't bring fulfillment. But we've been taught that they do. Again, back to the midlife crisis sort of thing. I've got the nice house, the nice car, all of this. I'm not happy. I've been lied to. SMART goals are supposed to produce that. So then I go, must be me. Something's wrong with me. What's wrong with me? And I go down that negative path in my head, beating up on myself because I'm not happy when I should be, because I've achieved all these SMART goals. SMART goals don't make you happy. They can't. They're not the right sort of thing. But the mythology is that they will make you happy. And then, as I just said, then we blame ourselves rather than saying, well, maybe this methodology I've been taught is inaccurate. So think about, imagine that you're a ghost at your own funeral, right? What, you're floating above the crowd there, not the funeral, but the reception afterwards, right? You're floating around. What kind of things do you want to hear people say? Do you want to say, oh, Jonathan doubled his income? Oh, Jonathan achieved the national vice president rank. Oh, stuff like that. Oh, Jonathan was worth $3 million. Is that what you would want on your tombstone? Or is it this less tangible stuff like he made a difference? He changed my life. I'm so grateful for what he shared with me. Well, my ghost would like to hear the second set of things, not the first. Or what do you want on your tombstone, right? You're not going to want a SMART goal on your tombstone. Sally drove a Mercedes. I doubt that's what you're going to want on your tombstone. So that's not the stuff that really matters, but we're taught that it is. And so we're focusing on the wrong thing. And I know I'm repeating myself, but these concepts are so important. Then that brings in the whole where I am now is bad and wrong, and it just goes downhill from there. So the goals that really do matter to us are not SMART. They don't fit that SMART acronym. They're emotional things. They're emotional states of being, contributing, serving, making a difference, right? Those are less specifically measurable, less concrete, but that's the stuff that matters, right? Your legacy. What do you want people to remember? That you served, that you contributed, that you made a difference. Because at the core of every human being, that's there. We're wired to contribute, to serve, to make a difference, to connect, to make other people's lives better. And that's where true fulfillment and true happiness comes in. So when we understand that, we can work backwards from that. Let me say this a slightly different way. So there's the SMART goals, and then there's these less tangible goals of the stuff that really matters to us. So we have to get clear about what really matters to us. So doubling your income is a SMART goal, but it doesn't mean anything. And people, we're emotional creatures, right? There's a saying in sales that says people buy emotionally and then later on justify rationally, right? Sales is an emotional thing. And that's true for everything, selling ourselves on beliefs and ideas. It's an emotional thing. So doubling your money, there's no emotion associated with that. There's getting a new title, there's no emotion associated with it. It doesn't mean anything. So if we start with a SMART goal like doubling our income, then what we need to do is we need to drill deeper and get connected to what does that mean to me? What's that going to allow in my life? What's going to be different? What will I do next? What will that make possible for me? Why is that important? And then doubling your income means, you know what, I'm going to have more time to spend with my family, or we'll travel more. Now that you can get a lot of emotion about. Doubling your income, no. You're going on your dream vacation to Tahiti with your family. Yeah, you can generate a lot of emotion, right? So these logical goals that don't have any emotion, they don't have any energy, they don't have any fuel, they don't have anything that drives them forward. And so the chances of achieving those goals becomes very small again, because it's the emotional component of this that drives us forward. So we've got to have our goals attached to compelling emotional reasons why, right? And that's what I was talking about just a minute ago, about serving and contributing and making a difference and supporting and those kind of things. That's what really matters to people. And so when you drill down to why is this important? Why does this really matter to me? Now we can work backwards to SMART goals and have SMART goals be in support of one of these bigger, less tangible goals. Then SMART goals do become useful, but SMART goals are like little kids in the supermarket. They shouldn't be left on their own. And most people's SMART goals are running around on their own. No, they need to be attached to something bigger, deeper, with far more meaning. So an example that pops to my head here is, right, a goal of slimming down. I want to weigh 30 pounds less, 20 pounds less, whatever it is, right? Again, that doesn't really mean anything. But so why is that important? Well, my doctor said that the way I am now is stressing out my heart, and consequently is probably going to make me die longer. It's going to make me die younger, right? But then I think, you know what? I want to dance at my daughter's wedding or something like that, right? Now there's a compelling emotional reason why it's important for me to slim down. So I have to focus on that compelling emotional reason why. Imagine myself dancing at my daughter's wedding, that sort of thing. And then I can work backwards from there. And now SMART goals of losing 20 pounds make sense because it's attached to this thing that has bigger purpose and bigger meaning. And then, yes, the SMART goals make sense. Okay, well, if I want to slim down, then I exercise 5 times a week and eat a salad at lunch every day. And these sort of things that do fit that SMART criteria. But if I just set out to eat a salad every day at lunch, but I don't have the compelling emotional reasons behind it, I'll easily get sidetracked. And I'll see a bowl of ice cream and go, well, that looks a heck of a lot better than my salad. I'm going to have the ice cream instead. But if I've got it attached to these compelling emotional reasons why that's important, it's so much easier to move forward and to achieve that goal. So compelling emotional reasons why. Why is this important? So if your goals right now don't create strong positive emotion, it means either it's not the right goal for you, or you just need to drill down deeper and again get to that, why does it really matter? Why is it important? But smart goals on their own are not the answer. And people end up torturing themselves and beating themselves up and doing all kinds of crazy stuff in their heads because they set smart goals. And then if they don't achieve them, they're bad and wrong. And if they do achieve them, then they notice, you know what, I'm not any happier. And then again, they're bad and wrong. And I've had people break down into tears talking about this because there's so much weird energy and so much pressure about the goals. And if your goals make you feel bad, you are not interacting with your goals in a useful way. Now, another thing about goals is goals versus guidance. Goals versus guidance, right? Because our ego versus God, spirit, the universe, that sort of thing, who's got a master plan for us. So in second grade, I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. In eighth grade, I knew I wanted to be a doctor when I grew up. And when I graduated high school, I had the goal to be a doctor. In college, I was pre-med. I had this goal to be a doctor for a long time. And then I even took the medical college admissions tests. Boy, that was a fun day, not. Whew. And then guidance came in. And I changed my direction because that wanting to be a doctor wasn't in alignment with my gifts and talents, with my purpose here on planet Earth. It wasn't who I was. It was a good idea, but it wasn't my soul speaking or God's plan unfolding in my life or whatever you want to call it, right? And so if I hadn't have been open to that guidance and had just stayed focused on my goal, could I have forced myself to go through medical school? Of course I could have. Could I now be a doctor, Dr. Jonathan Mansky, and be miserable? Yeah, there's a lot of people in that situation. Stephen Covey talks about it, about struggling to climb the ladder, and then you get to the top and you go, wow, this is the wrong building. I don't even want to be here. That happens so often when we forget guidance and get locked into our goals, which our ego can easily hijack. And if there's struggle and great effort, then there's a good chance that your ego has hijacked the process there. And if we're in guidance, circumstances, coincidences, miracles show up over and over again as it unfolds. So if it isn't unfolding, now this is a little tricky piece here. If it isn't unfolding, one of two things is going on. Either you're trying to push water uphill with a rake, right? Because it isn't the path your life was meant to go down and you're trying to force it, or you've got head trash that is in your way, right? So the whole doctor thing was an example of the guidance versus goals. And I was open to that guidance and I redirected. And then I did move into this direction of what I'm doing now. And there was struggle. There was efforting. There was stress, that sort of thing, because I had so much head trash that my actions I was taking out in the world to try to move forward and try to grow my business was being greatly sabotaged. And I needed to do a bunch of personal growth work in order to free myself up to follow my path. So one of those two things is going on when there's struggle and effort. And I should be able to tell you right now, how do you distinguish between those two? And I don't have a good answer for that right now. So hopefully something on that will come up before we're done talking here. Yeah, so even then, even when I was struggling, I knew I was on my right path, right? That I love what I do. I would do it for free. I've got skills and talents and gifts and abilities. And I so enjoyed playing in that arena. So right there is really good feedback, right? Versus again, something where, well, I'm doing this, but it's the golden handcuffs thing. It's not my passion, it's not my purpose, it's not my excitement. I'm doing it because it's a good career move, because the money is good, because the prestige is good, right? It's not filling your soul, it's not filling your heart. So even when I was struggling with my business, the business I did have was filling my soul and filling my heart. So there's the distinction right there. So again, guidance versus goals. And motivation, the goal, right? That's us taking an idea and forcing it to see where we can take that and how far we can take it and where it's supposed to go, because I know. And inspiration is when an idea gets a hold of you and it takes you to where you were intended to go. Right? And God is going to be whispering in your ear, and we've got a choice whether we listen or not. So does your life feel like it's unfolding? If not, chances are you need to check your big goals here and really see if you're on target with that. You know, are your goals out of inspiration and vision, something that wants to be created and expressed through you? Or is it a good idea like me being a doctor? Do you need to be in charge, or we're never in charge. Do you need to hang on to the illusion that you're in charge and in control, or can you let go and trust? Trust in a higher power, trust in God, trust in the universe, that it's got your best interest in heart, and show up, serve, contribute, and trust that it's all going to work out. And then now back to the SMART goals piece from before, now I'm clear about my path, then yes, SMART goals make sense of, okay, I want to get in front of more people, have more people hear my message. Okay, well, now I can set some SMART goals around that and move forward on that. And there's an old saying, mortals plan and the gods laugh, or something like that, right? So just because we've planned it doesn't mean it's going to unfold that way. It seldom does, right? So if we're attached to the outcomes and to knowing how it's supposed to go, we're in our own way again, right? What you want is your job, and how that happens is God's job. What you want is your job. Hey, here's what I want to create: goals, vision for my life. How that happens is God's job. And as soon as we try to do God's job, the natural response is to stress out, because we're trying to do something we can't possibly do, right? We don't have the power to make a coincidence happen, to have synchronicity happen. That's stuff that happens all the time, right? And so let's talk about this in a sales context, right? Of getting a new client, right? We stress out, where's my business going to come from? Where's my new client going to come from? Where's the volume for my paycheck going to come from? You've never known where it's going to come from, because we do our stuff, we take action, we make our phone calls and all that sort of thing to make ourselves available to miracles and to magic. And if it comes from the person I call, or it comes from a completely different direction, it doesn't matter, right? That's God's job. So as soon as we try to control that, big time, we're in our own way, and we're going to sabotage ourselves, because we're going to get overwhelmed, right? Because you can't make a coincidence happen. Every client, every dollar that's come into your life, God's arranged the details on that. God's brought the circumstances, the coincidences, the pieces together for that to occur, not you. And then we did our part, right? We listened to the little voice in our head that said, oh, I should call that person, or I should strike up a conversation, or I went to this networking event and talked to people, or whatever, right? It's still our job. It's not our job to sit there and do nothing. No, it's our job to be in action on these small things, so that the miracles and the magic can show up in our life. But when we become attached to it's got to happen a certain way, which is one of the dangers and goals, that we can get way too locked in. It's got to be this. Here's my goal. Here's my plan. It's got to be this way. Yeah, maybe so, probably not. Right? So not enjoy the doing versus being attached to the outcomes. Enjoy the doing right? Be in the present, enjoy the doing, and don't be attached to the outcome. Serve, contribute, make a difference, and trust that it's going to work out, right? And if your goal is to serve and contribute and make a difference, you're going to have an amazing life. Dang, and I'm forgetting the guy's name. He won a Nobel Peace Prize. He said something along the lines of, this was a speech he was giving. He's like, I don't know you people, but I do know one thing. I know that the only ones among you who are going to have true happiness are those who have figured out a way to serve and are doing it. Serve and contribute. The Indian poet Rabindranath Tagore said, I slept and dreamt that life was bliss. I woke and saw that life was but service. I served and discovered that service is bliss. Right? So if your goal is to serve and contribute and make a difference, you're going to have happiness and fulfillment. And when you have happiness and fulfillment, you're in the space of being very magnetic to your good. You're very magnetic to success, right? The Louise Hay quote I started with. Love, accept, and approve of yourselves exactly as you are, and everything in life just works. So to allow that to come in. So goals then are more of a direction than a specific spot, right? I'm going to head north versus I'm heading exactly to Casper, Wyoming, which I think is north from here. No, head north, and then as you go, things are going to change, and you'll course correct, and things will modify and change. Again, as long as we're not attached to the outcome. And if there's something much better for me up north than Casper, Wyoming, that's great. And if I find out that actually I want to be headed south, it's okay to do the ready, fire, aim. Ready, fire, aim, right? Because people want to sit there and get all their ducks in a row. And the only way to get your ducks in a row is to get into action, right? Otherwise, the ducks mill around and it's chaos. But once Mother Duck heads out, all the little ducklings line up behind her and boom, your ducks are in a row and you're headed. And then if Mother Duck needs to make a U-turn, all the little ducks are going to make that U-turn with her and they'll still be in a row, right? So get moving in a direction and then course correct as you go. So what else about goals here? We talked about having the right relationship to SMART goals and not starting with them, starting with what really matters. Then we also talked about how important it is to have those compelling emotional reasons why it's important, right? We're emotional creatures, and if you don't have those compelling emotional reasons, you don't have goals. You just have a to-do list. That's all it becomes. It becomes tasks on a to-do list, and nobody needs more on their to-do list. Right? But when we're got the compelling emotional reasons why it's important, now that fire comes from within and keeps us moving forward. Now that fire that comes from within, we need to think of a campfire, right? Campfires are wonderful. Great atmosphere, relaxing, warm. But here's the thing about a campfire. If you don't keep putting fuel on that fire, then pretty soon you don't have a fire anymore, right? It doesn't keep burning itself. And that's the same thing with these compelling emotional reasons why and our big why and that sort of thing. It's like a campfire. And we have to visit it and feel those emotions every day. Why is this important? Why is it important for me to grow my business? Why is it important for me to make these phone calls? Oh yeah, here's the big picture. And then I feel that positive feeling, that positive emotion. And that's like throwing a log on that fire, keeping the fire going, right? So the big why, which is your big goal, the big why. There's a lot of confusion around there. People think it's something and it grabs you by the neck and it never lets go. And that's just not the way it works. It's like that campfire. You have to keep throwing logs on that fire. You have to keep answering that question. Why is this important? And imagining it and visualizing it and feeling those feelings, feeling those compelling emotional reasons why. And this gets a little tricky for some people because so many people in our culture have learned to not feel their feelings. to repress their feelings, that it's not okay to have feelings, that sort of thing. So to sit here and just really feel excited about your future, to feel excited about that thing, whatever that goal is, that can be a stretch for you. And if it is, that's okay. Just make progress. Just make progress, right? So progress, by the way, is an incredibly important thing to understand in the goal setting and goal achieving process. It's not about perfection, it's about progress. And one of the most valuable things anyone can learn to do is to celebrate progress, to see and celebrate your progress. And so if I have a goal to double my income, right, which is a SMART goal, in support of this other goal of a lifestyle goal of how I live my life with my family. And so in 2015, my goal is to double my income. So then halfway through the year, I look and I go, well, I'm on pace to increase my income by 40%, but not double it. Well, at that point in time, most people are going to be discouraged. They're going to get down on themselves. They're going to think they're doing something wrong. Their energy is going to go straight into the toilet instead of, hey, is 40% more income good? Darn straight it's good. It's darn good. It's great, right? So that's a win. I need to celebrate that. Hey, I am obviously doing something right because my income is up 40%. That's awesome. Way to go, me, right? See and celebrate that progress. But instead, we get down on ourselves and go, well, I'm halfway through the year and I'm not at 50%, so I'm not on target, so I'm failing. No, you're not failing. Any progress is progress. It's working. And we need to learn to see and celebrate progress. I talked with a client the other day, and his goal is he knows for his business he needs to make about 30 cold calls a week. And he just really struggles to do that. And so at the beginning of the call, he said, I asked him, how can I be of value to you? What are we doing on the call here today? And he said something along the lines of, figure out why I'm stuck about making cold calls, right? Focusing on the problem. Now, here's the thing. He had made more cold calls in the last week than he had in the last 2 months. So yes, he still had weird feelings and some resistance and some hesitation, but he had made a lot of progress. But because he wasn't focusing on the progress, he was discouraged, which brings his energy down. And when our energy's down, we're in our own way, right? It's hard to be in action. And even if we're in action, the results are far less fruitful than when our energy's up, right? No, he had made tremendous progress, but he didn't see the progress because that's what we're conditioned to do, to measure what we haven't gotten done yet and that we're not there yet. Instead of, oh my gosh, I made progress. I made progress. So to see and celebrate that progress. My good friend Chris is super good with goals. And he'll proudly tell you that he has never achieved a quarterly goal. Never. But he doesn't get bummed out. He doesn't get discouraged. He sees the progress. And then he sets new goals. And then, half a year later, 3/4 of a year later, he tends to hit those goals, right? So there's this lag time. But meanwhile, he's closer, right? So doubling your income, well, I'm up 30%. That's progress. That's worthy of a celebration, right? It's progress, not perfection. And people interact with their goals of either I achieve my goals and I'm good, or I don't achieve my goals and I'm bad. And that is not the right way to interact with your goals. Progress, progress, progress. If you get better at seeing and celebrating your own progress, it will change your life. I promise you that. I guarantee you that. So, progress, not perfection. Now, goals, another thought on goals. Goals need to be accompanied by action. Right? So the big goals, why that's important. Now we do need to work backwards to an action plan. Right? So I want to slim down, the example I used of dancing at my daughter's wedding. Okay, now I need an action plan. Salad. Okay, and then I need an action plan of going to the grocery store and all that, right? And so if our goals aren't accompanied by action, then they're just wishful thinking. So it's got to have an action plan too. And just a sec, what else do I want to mention about this here? Final piece I want to talk about with goals is, as kids, we dreamed big, or most kids did, right? You ask a little kid what they're going to be when they grow up, and it's going to be an astronaut, a quarterback, a ballerina, a movie star, right? Like it was all possible. And then as adults, we start to dream smaller. Our dream space shuts down because we've had a disappointment here and a failure there, and we get scared to dream. And so a lot of times people set goals that are so small, they're boring. They're not worth getting excited for. They're not worth going for because they're so small, versus setting these big, hairy, audacious goals, right? BHOGs, the impossible dreams. Dream big, stir your soul, shoot for the stars. And even if you don't make the stars, you'll end up at the moon, right? Shoot for the ceiling, and well, why even bother getting up? So what? If I make it to the ceiling, nothing's different, right? So learn to dream big. And if you've got head trash about that, then that's an opportunity to go back and let go of that, right? That it is okay to dream. It's safe to dream. I'm able to dream. I am worthy of the best life has to offer, right? So we've got to go back and clear out the head trash too. So one of my favorite questions to teach people is this question: based on these results, what must I believe? Right? When you look at your results and your outcomes, and they aren't what you want them to be, when you've got goals and you aren't achieving them, and instead you're getting a different result, a different outcome, then to ask yourself that question: based on these results, what must I believe? And then you'll come up with your head trash, your limiting beliefs, and then you go to your toolbox to upgrade your consciousness, to upgrade your beliefs so that you can achieve your goals. And if you're like, toolbox consciousness, what are you talking about? Here on my YouTube channel, there's a how to transform your limiting beliefs. It's a 2-hour-long video that teaches you all kinds of consciousness upgrading tools so that you can do that. Okay, based on these results, what must I believe? Okay, here's this limiting belief. As long as that limiting belief is in place, I can't achieve my goal, because that's the way it works. This limiting belief stops me from achieving that goal. So now I need to go to work on my consciousness and upgrade what's possible for me so that I can achieve my goals. So I think that I'm complete with what I wanted to share on goals here. So good luck with this. If you have any questions, feel free to give me a call, 303-552-7285, or shoot me an email at jonathan@jonathanmansky.com. And want to end this presentation with what I started with, right? If your goals have you interact with yourself and where you are now, as in I'm bad and wrong because I'm not there, because I haven't achieved my goals, and my life will be better when I achieve my goals, your goals are doomed to failure, because it's just a misunderstanding of what it means to be a human being and how the whole process works. So we need to start from it's already good. And yes, now let's see, what does great look like? How do I get to great? And then we can have goals to go from good to great that will be very useful to us, contribute to our life, make us better. But when our goals are to escape bad to get to good, that whole process is bankrupt and guaranteed failure. So have a great rest of your day, evening, and much love to you. Thanks.